Hello everybody, welcome back. I've put together a slideshow of some photos that we had of work that we've already done in the past. This is over a period of probably 6 or 7 years. So just sit back and enjoy what we've got here. Here's a few pictures of when we first bought the place. We've done a lot of cleaning up, as you can see. We had some dead cars in the garden and in the barn as well. There's one there, Ford Sierra. Most of the early work was done by hand. We didn't get a machine in until much later. We got an excavator in who scraped the whole surface of the ground off for us, just a couple of inches of soil off the top, and dug a big hole and put all the rubbish in there, along with anything else that we found on site, which is quite common up there. There's not a lot of tips or anything like that, not like in the south of the country, so anything you want to get rid of, you dig a hole and bury it in the garden. Oh, we had a swimming pool at one time. There we are. As you can see, a lot of the time it's quite wet and muddy, so it's not very easy to do work in the winter, certainly. Much easier in the summer. Here's the digger. As you can see here, it was quite wet at one point. Here's a bit of the garden having been scraped off. No grass obviously, because that's all gone down the hole. Very, very muddy at that time. Just at that point you can just see the original foundation, which sticks out from the walls by about 6 inches or so. So the walls are 2 feet thick and the foundation is 3 feet thick. So all the way around the cottage there's a little plinth of stone, so you know when you're near the bottom. Here's a couple from the inside now. Now the inside was quite filled with detritus from many years of storage. There's the kitchen sink. There haven't been any dishes done in that for a long time. Here's the living room now, and that's the front view of the living room now. That cupboard there is going to be made into a window, so it's a bit brighter inside. All these crofts had very small windows to keep the cold out, but also keeps the light out. That's the kitchen, which is now going to be the bathroom probably. It's going to be an ensuite to the bedroom. So it's looking a lot better now. There's the old fire, which used to be, it used to have the sway, which was a metal contraption where you swung it out, you put your pot on it, and then you swung it back in over the fire. All cooking in those days would have been done over an open fire with peat, using peat only. We actually have peat cutting rights on the hill, which is Dunnet Head. New front door. No, that's the back door. New back door. It's only a temporary thing. New doors on the barn as well. Here's a bit of emergency repair work which I did. It was very difficult to do because it was probably -2 degrees, and in that temperature the mortar won't go off. So I put the stones in, but it wasn't a good job. It'll be redone again later, hopefully. Here's a couple of views of inside. The roof is at the end of its life for sure, so that'll all be stripped off, as you'll see later. Here's a particularly bad roof joist, just hanging there no more, definitely at the end of its life. Another couple of views of the foundations. That little pit there is the remains of what used to be the fireplace. So here's my friend Nigel. At last we're actually making some construction rather than destruction. That was the first block laid. That was probably the first day's work, which was quite productive because one stone at the bottom, especially the one at the bottom left, is equivalent to about 12 or 15 bricks probably. So we're rebuilding that wall completely. We're going to have 2 windows there, which you'll see in a minute, and a fire. Now that's a small fireplace. since then we've decided we're going to take that one out and put a much larger one in with probably a wood burning stove, although it won't be wood, it'll be peat burning. The chimney is fully lined and all that gap in the middle will be filled with rubble and anything else we can find to throw in there. There we go, that's after a couple of days. Not a bad start. The pile of stone there was delivered from the quarry. There's 15 tons of stone, and if I remember it was £5 a ton, so that's £75 worth of stone, which is enough to build the whole croft. Bit of progress there on the gable end, coming along nicely. Quite often we had to go back to the quarry to get some lintels, which we had to pick out specifically because we wanted about 3 or 4 inches thick. Here we are, bit of the inside. The 2 windows are finished there. That's going to look quite nice either side of the fireplace. One of those stones we found in the garden covered in moss, but they all work. There we are. Nice blue sky of Caithness as usual. I'm only joking. It rains more than it's sunny. There we are, a bit of scaffolding gone up, and we have a form to follow so that we can get the angle of the roof pitch correct. It's 40 degrees pitch. There's Nigel. Got his tongue out. He must be doing something quite technical. It was nice to get this far because taking the roof off is quite a major step, and it's always nice to be putting something back for a change. There we are, almost finished there. Lovely weather that week. We just started on the chimney stack. The chimney is quite tall and it's a lot bigger than it looks from the ground, as you'll see maybe in a couple of photos. There we are. The chimney stack is almost 6 foot tall, plus the chimney pot. He's doing the pointing there. Now that little pocket at the chimney stack was going to be for a steel beam. We were going to have a vaulted ceiling, but we subsequently have changed our mind because these houses can be quite cold, and if we have a vaulted ceiling, all the warm air will be up the top while we're sitting down the bottom in the cold. So we're just going to have a conventional ceiling now. There's a comparison of the old window with the new window. The new window will be wider and taller, so the room should be quite bright now. These old crofts with their tiny little square windows are really, really dark inside. This is the living room. Nice detail of the stonework there with the tabling on top, ready for the roof to go on. This is the doorway between the living room and the kitchen. That was completely rotted away, and that whole lump of stone there was just hanging ready to fall down. There we are. There's the after. Quite a nice job. You can see there how thick the walls are. It takes 6 lintels to span that gap. Nigel did a very nice job on the stonework. Now we've opened up a doorway in the back. That's going to be 2 French doors. But this part of the wall was very, very unstable. As you can see there, it's already bowed on the inside. We had a discussion whether to take it all down and rebuild it or to try to save as much as we could. Now it's always best to save what you can. So that's it finished there. We built a pier of blockwork, and that wall on the inside with the pink bit of plaster there is not going to be weight bearing at all. There's a couple of lintels over the top which is supported at one end by the gable end and the other end by that pier of blockwork. So that wall is now pretty well freestanding. It's not going to fall down again. It's not going to fall down. Here we are. You can just see the sea in the background. Moving along to the other end, the north end of the building now. There's all the slate off. Probably about half of that slate is salvageable, half of it's not. It's all delaminated with the frost. It is about 160 years old at that point. That chimney is a false chimney just for decoration. As you can see, it's been added later from some block work. There we are. There's going back to the old wall, which is totally rebuilt, and there's a nice view of the stonework there. That shows you how thick the walls are. This is the middle gable now. This chimney will be a working chimney as well, should we want that. That chimney will serve, the fireplace will serve the kitchen. There's Nigel. Here's another view, a good view of how tall a chimney stack actually is. They don't look very big from the road, but when you're up close to it and you've had to carry all that slate up on the ladder, it's quite a big job. That's doing the pointing at the end of the day. There's Peter. Hello, Peter. An old colleague of mine who retired, so he was a bit bored, so he came up a couple of times to do some work on it. Very nice chap. This is the third gable, the north gable now. Here's the construction. Originally, you have two facing walls and then all the rubble in the middle. You can just see the sway there on the left hand side of the fireplace, which they would have cooked with. That's all the cooking they had, was over the open fire. Nearly there, nearly ready to start the chimney stack. Nice blue sky again. As you can see down the bottom, we've saved some of the slate. There we go, a couple of bits of sandstone mixed in with all that slate. Now this is round the back, which is now the bathroom. That there is a new window which we let in. Quite difficult, around a 2 foot thick wall. Takes a wee while to do that. Just a couple of general views of the back now. Bit rainy that day. That's a surprise, being Scotland. So all three chimneys are now totally rebuilt from the first one was built from the ground up. The second and the third one were done from the original up to the chimney pot. This is going to be the porch out the front. We took the old porch away and it's going to be a lot bigger now. So you'll have room to come into the porch, take your shoes and your boots and your coats off before you go into the house. There we are. That's a nice bit of stonework that our chaps have done. Now Nigel is a bricklayer, but he's very good at stonework, and he came up with me every week for 5 or 6 years. I was his labourer, he's the one with the skill. I just do the humping and carrying. We're just getting to the end of the slideshow now, so I hope you've all enjoyed this little summary of progress so far. We're hoping to restart work next year, and we'll be able to take video this time, and we'll have lots of projects on, and hopefully one day this old place will be finished and it'll be our home again. So there we are. Hope you've enjoyed everything. Lovely stonework there. And if you're ever up that way, do stop off. It's on the NC 500 and it is the very last road in the country on the way to Dunnet Head. You can't miss it. So there we are. Thanks for watching.